Yo guys, what's up? This is Lizzy Jane. You're tuning in to another episode of the XO podcast. We are here with a very special guest, Josh from Modestep. Josh, how are you?
How's it going? I'm all right. How you doing?
Good, I'm doing good. How's everything out there in LA?
It's very nothingy. That's like a really good descriptive term for what Los Angeles is right now. Just very nothing.
Nothingy. Do you mean no gyms, no restaurants, nothing?
Yeah, since March. So it's just a long time of stay in your house and do nothings, basically.
Oh my goodness. Literally just absolutely insane.
Yeah, I don't know how people are supposed to cope. I guess most people aren't. And I actually ventured out yesterday for the first time, like around my area, just for a walk, like a bit further than where I usually go.
Mm-hmm.
And there are homeless shelters and tents everywhere in places there were never, ever, ever before. So it's not looking good for Los Angeles right now.
Just rows and rows of tents. I've heard that from multiple people who live out there, especially by Venice Beach and places that were not really populated by homeless people before are now just completely disrupted.
Overrun. Yeah, overrun with it. Yeah, and I can totally feel it, I can feel it. Like there's no like structure or direction or voice for Los Angeles. You just feel like we've been told one set of things in around May, and apart from that we haven't really been told anything. So we're just kind of left to just get on, and there's no help or no anything. It's really it's confusing.
It's absolutely confusing, and the lack of communication from government officials to the actual people of California is just absolutely insane. It's quite appalling, and I totally understand it. And it is a very liberal state. I mean, it's populated by artists, it's populated by the entertainment industry, but you would think by now, 6 months into this, pretty much it started it. I remember I played my last show at the beginning of March. I'm sure you all did too. And then after that it was just like stop, halt, there we go. And do you live with your brother in LA, or is he overseas? Is he still with you?
Yeah, so my brother lives back in the UK. Pat is living in Hollywood, so he's not too far away. But I'm just living with my girlfriend and my doggos out in Echo Park by the Dodgers Stadium.
And there you go. So I'm sure, and it's just so crazy that I see the videos, because the Dodgers, I'm a baseball fan, so I'm from where the Rays are. I'm from Tampa Bay.
Oh, shit.
So yeah. I saw the videos, even after the Lakers won, and it's just thousands and thousands and thousands of people, and it's so hard for me to conceptualize how that's maybe not necessarily allowed, but it's being entertained.
It's definitely being entertained. Definitely. I mean, I live here, so I'm right by the entrance to the Dodger Stadium. And the crazy thing is, I've spoken to my agent, and they've tried to get drive-in shows to be done within Los Angeles, and they've just said outright, not happening. No drive-in shows. Can't allow that to happen. But there's a drive-in here every week for baseball, so you could come in here and watch the games, drive in, and they've got big screens, and it's like,
I don't understand.
It's already there. It's ready to go. You could literally drive in a band and then that's it. There's no difference. So it just feels to me that that's where the money is, and that's really what's driving LA more than anything else, is financial reasons.
But it's so unfortunate, because the entertainment industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. We're making just as much money, and I understand TV and other marketing aspects here and there, but it's just so sad. I saw Riot 10 announce the first drive-in I've seen in Los Angeles 24 hours ago.
It's not. I don't think it's LA. No, he's put it's Los Angeles, but it's not. No, it's not LA. No, it's just a drive. It's in California, but it's not LA.
I've seen in SoCal they've had the pod shows, and they're starting to do the drive-in shows, and that's where we kind of started at mid-July, was doing those pod
the closest
shows.
Now is the NOS Center, which is a 2-hour drive, something like that from LA.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. It's just a nightmare. We were talking about before you got on that you were thinking about moving to Austin.
Yeehaw!
Cowboy hats galore. But their music scene there is popping off right now too.
I know, they're actually
they're throwing shows.
Yeah, they're throwing shows. I mean, look, you can argue it's not the safest thing to do, but at least they're giving people the option and their own choice, which is like, I understand that like maybe they shouldn't be happening, but I think people should be given the right 8 months into something where like nothing has really helped in any way.
There's no vaccine. People don't even there's certain like general health precautions that I think that everybody should be taking, such as wearing a mask, such as social distancing, something that you would put into place regardless of what's going on, regardless if it was COVID or another outbreak. Like it was kind of a long time coming. However, kind of like herd mentality, especially in the place that you're living in LA right now, everyone's completely broken down their immune systems by staying inside, by not being around other people. And you're seeing places like Denver and Philly start to open up, and now they're shutting down again. I think Wisconsin, I was talking to my manager earlier, because cases are spiking. And it's the same thing that happened in Florida when they opened up in June. And when you've got restaurants running at 50%, 25%, whether it's outside or not, you're going to see those cases go back up because of employees working, whatever the reason. And it's like at one point you have to make that jump. It's like, are you just going to keep us closed forever? You can't do that.
That's the thing. And I think so many people are going to suffer from like economy and
people. It's going to kill. It's already killed our economy.
It's already killed it. Yeah.
Focusing more on our industry, it's killing our industry. It's like, and you all are originally from London, correct? Are you from around that area?
Yeah, so London. Yeah.
I've seen you guys post on your Twitter. I've talked to Bad Cloud, I've talked to Odd Profit, I've talked to all of those guys, and are they basically just telling you to find a new profession?
Yeah, they actually do like advertising campaigns and everything geared towards it, being like, blah 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 is a ballerina, she could be a professor.
I saw the thing with the ballerina, and it's just that makes me just so frustrated. And it's like having friends who have children and other stuff like that, and their kids are in school, and it's just like art's not even a thing that's pushed anymore. It's just starting to be phased out. And then to see governments come among their people and put millions of dollars behind these ads to basically say an underlying analogy to, hey, you might as well figure something out because this isn't coming back anytime soon.
Well, I think it's worse than that. I think it is go fuck yourself. You chose the wrong profession. I think it's as simple as that. And it's like, oh yeah, I'll sing a song. These are like the people who are making these decisions are like 65-year-old conservative, royal-blooded people who have absolutely no interest whatsoever in the arts or music. So it's tough that there's no representation, because the reality is that music brings $4 billion every year to the UK alone. So it's crazy money. It's not a financial thing. It's ignorance more than anything else. But
it's ignorance, and I feel like they associate certain problems with substances or alcohol or crime with these concentrated fields of work. And it's just so sad because it's not supposed to be that way. From my understanding, the UK is a very pleasant place to live, and we're starting to see kind of a sense of control on our people placed on us, where we're given ultimatums, and it's just
and it comes from like a really like uninformed place as well. And that's what upsets me, is like all the scientists and all the doctors in the UK agree upon one thing, that lockdown isn't necessarily working. I mean, even WHO, World Health Organization, are saying the amount of damage you're doing to people by locking them down and the damage you're doing to the economy completely negates all of the benefit that you get from locking people down in the first place. So, it's politicians politicizing things, unfortunately, and that's where we're at, I think.
Absolutely. And I feel like when you're a politician and you don't know how to listen to the other people who are put there in place to inform you because they're wiser than you, it's like an ego death thing. It's like you have too big of an ego to listen to anybody who's smarter than you or admit you were wrong. And we see this in our country, and you're seeing it where you guys are from, and it's very scary because it's uneducated decisions and kind of like the things how fact checking and stuff like that has started to be implemented on social media and kind of waving, which potentially goes into our First Amendment right of freedom of speech, which is a little bit scary. I like the whole fact checking thing because, you've got our president saying things that are getting people killed, that are getting people
just
killed.
false, just totally false, and like that kind of outright outspoken nonsense is harmful. Like, and I'm with you with this whole like freedom of speech, but then when does it get to a point where like freedom of speech can be dangerous because what you're telling people is things that harm themselves, you know?
Correct.
So like there's freedom of speech and then there's actually like criminal activity. I think those two things are very, very different and they get confused sometimes in America.
Very, very, very different. It's like comparing the peaceful protests to the people breaking the windows and breaking in and stealing things and looting things.
Exactly.
And did you witness any of that in LA? I know it was pretty bad in LA to a certain extent because there were so many protests.
Yeah, I was just watching it on the news. Like where we live is luckily just a bit out from all of that stuff, like a 10-minute drive away. But Pat saw a lot of it. They had to like board up their place and stay inside where they were. Yeah.
When I played at Skyway Theater, and I had talked to the general manager there, and he said, because that's where the whole George Floyd thing happened, and he said shortly after George Floyd was killed, they had to board up their whole venue because people were setting cars on fire and people were just doing all of this stuff. It's very scary. And even here in Tampa, one of our like our shoe stores blew up, and like somebody set off kind of a makeshift bomb, and then the National Guard was sent in, and it's just wild. You would never think that this would, if I could bet money about a year and a half ago in Vegas that this was going to happen, I would have, because I would have been a millionaire. And it's just like it's just so surreal, and it's hard sometimes to take a step back and say, what is going on? And then in more of that, I feel like people need music even more now and some sort of sense of connectivity. But at the same time, I find myself questioning all the time, like, is this post that important right now? Like, are there other things to focus on? And I feel like, I don't know, you guys have taken that front where you've used your platform, as all artists should be, to educate people about things going on in the world instead of just turning a blind eye to it.
Well, I don't like to see it like that, because I don't like to see that I'm smart enough or like educated enough to really like give people like fact or fiction, but definitely telling my opinion on how I feel all the time. You take it as you will. That's the thing. Like I'm not right all the time for sure, but try and like at least give an outside perspective. Like someone who's come from the UK to this country, it's very it's a bit more obvious what's going on here compared to someone who's lived here their whole life and just dealt with the media and dealt with how things are run out here. I mean, it's when you first move here from another country, it's crazy. It's a complete wild west situation out here.
So tell me though, like, because I have lived here my whole life, like, what did you think when you moved here, and like, what do people who you talk to at home think is going on here in the United States right now?
Yeah, I mean, like, I guess people in the UK think they kind of know what's going on here, because like America in the news, it's always like the media. We look to America for the big news for everything, because this is where all the celebrities are from, and all Hollywood and this, that, and the other. So it's always on TV, but definitely not the other way around. People have no idea in America what's going on in the UK. Like it's foreign. And to be honest with you, what's crazy is since I moved here, I only get American news, and I've totally lost touch with what happens back home. And what I've had to do is actually switch all of my stuff to VPN so that it thinks that I'm back in the UK. You get different Google results. Like I Google something back home and I get a different result to what I get here. And that's worrying. It's a really strange, worrying thing.
You get different results based on the state and county that you live in. If you're registered as a Republican, if you're registered as a Democrat, you get different things when you look in, is climate change real? Is oil impacting our country? If I'm a registered Republican and I'm living in Austin, Texas, I'm going to get that climate change isn't real, and that this is something that's being put in place by the Democrats, and science doesn't make sense.
So I was just confused by that. Like, and it made me believe, like, it made me realize that this country has very little control over what they believe and what they feel, because fact is totally warped for them. I mean, like, I try and not watch TV because it's so poisonous out here. I watch it for 5 minutes and I'm like, what am I watching? What is this? It's like abuse on the senses. It's just noise, bright color, noise, scare, noise, bright color, scare. And I'm just like, whoa, what's happening? And I found myself like at the start of the pandemic realizing this and realizing that like news is really, really bad. And it's actually like really bad for you as a person to even interact with this stuff. So I just blocked all of it out. I don't want to like hear Trump's name twice a day. Like, I think all of that stuff is bad for you. It's nothing to do with your life, and you shouldn't really,
and it
until it means something.
People's lives.
Oh, fuck.
It consumes their lives. And like, I would like to think that we deal with a lot of unintelligent people, but I would like to think there's an upper echelon of our industry where most people are pretty intelligent and they have enough experience to just make executive decisions based on their past experience as well as their beliefs. And a lot of America is just really stupid, and they believe what they hear. And sorry, I'm gonna get there and be like, you think America's stupid, whatever. But it is. It's well, this Facebook news. Did you see this on Facebook? And you click on the link, and it's not even what the headline said.
It's not real. I mean, it's made, but it may not even be made in this country. Like, propaganda is so easy in this country. It's so easy because you only have like 5 mainstream ways of communicating to the news. Like, there's just big companies own everything from where you buy your food to who kills the animals for you to eat to everything is done by a large corporation. Those are the guys giving money to all the politicians. So there's just this horrible circle of like, money means everything out here. And I understand it's a capitalist country, but there's just something that needs to be fair for it to be capitalist and fair, because it's not.
Correct. And those two things, unfortunately, I don't feel like fit in the same sentence. You can't have capitalism and you can't have the word fair in the same sentence, because it's not going to happen. And I feel like, even though this may not be the right analogy, I feel like since the Civil War happened, there has not been a greater sense of division within our country financially and racially and just like everything. Just the
everything,
division and politically, you know. So it's scary. The election coming up is. I know I said I wasn't going to talk about politics, and look, here we are talking about politics, but it matters. It matters, you know, and it matters that you vote. If you're a United States citizen, you should go and vote. And
definitely do that.
What's cool is that, you know, with our generation, I'm 23, and I think the generation above me and the generation that just turned 18, maybe even above them in their mid-30s, they never really put voting as a priority. And this year, I would like to be confident to say that you're going to get a way larger percentage of people.
It's already apparently it's already the biggest voting that they've ever had. But it's no wonder everyone's locked at home and just like politics has been rammed down at everyone's throat for like 8 months. So
nonstop.
But you know what? I think everyone's going to be a bit disappointed at the election day. That's all I'm going to say. I don't think it's going to be what everyone thinks it's going to be.
No, I don't think it is either, and I don't think we're going to get an answer on election day. I think it's potentially going to run until the end of 2020 to figure out who the president is. And both parties are going to challenge each other. Both parties are going to say it's rigged, especially with the mail-in ballot option because of the pandemic. It's just going to be a shit show.
No, there's going to be poo flying everywhere. People just throwing shit at each other. It's more headlines, more media crap. But
well, at least I think there's been some silver linings for some musicians throughout this year. As I want to say confidently, since I've dove into this genre, which has been a lot less of a time than you all have been in the genre, that there's been some of the most innovative music coming out of it.
Yeah, and, no doubt.
You know, very intriguing, mind-bending, time signature differences music. And I don't know, what do you guys think about that? Have you guys had time to really experiment and mess around with a lot of music, or have you guys just been kind of not in the zone, just chilling?
Yeah, so like at the start of lockdown, for the first 4 months, I didn't make any music whatsoever. It was just like, fuck, what's happening with the world? When I'm anxious, the last thing I want to do is make music. It's not like, that's just not me. So, and to be honest, I don't make a lot of music as it is. Everything I make, bar like probably like 5 tunes ever people have heard. So like I make songs and they get released. I'm not like a producer's producer who sits there and makes 400 tunes a week and just fires them all out. And then, it's just not me. So like But I've been listening to more music than I've listened to full stop. At the start of lockdown, I started streaming, doing like feedback streams, and I was just getting sent so much music to the point where like every time I'd ask people for dub plates, I'd be sifting through 400 to 800 tunes. Oh. And I'm like, this hasn't happened since like 2010, where I've got like music to pick from. Every time I want to do a DJ set, I'm like spoilt for choice. Like, can I do 2 hours? You know, that hasn't happened in so long. There's so much talent, and it's getting younger and younger and younger.
So
like,
young.
Yeah,
so young.
Make me feel crazy old.
Literally, I have this conversation all the time. I'm like, I got in right when I was supposed to get in, because the next generation coming behind me are like high schoolers.
It's really. I was listening to More Kismet like on a plane journey for the last show that I did, and I was just like, how? Like, what the fuck? How? Like when I was that age, they're 15, right? So it's like when I was that age, what the fuck was I making? I barely had a computer that could even run Fruity Loops at that point. Like,
yes.
And now, kids are making music that's like intricate, delicate, emotional. Like, it's got everything.
That are cohesive pieces of music.
Yeah, like real music, not just beat making or like rhythm. For the best part was like sound design and just like a certain thing. But now it's all of those influences for the last 10 years have all come together, and creativity is happening again. And we're getting people like Papa Khan, who I know you had on, like him coming through, and me hearing like, oh shit, melody is back. Like people, I can sit down at DAW and just make a song, put some drums behind it, and for the first time ever, people are going to fuck with it. Whereas maybe even last year, it had to have a certain level of like machine gun aggression and
club bangers. It was strictly club bangers and no actual. That's one thing that like why you all have been such an inspiration to me and the direction that I've gone with using my vocals and such, is because you've always focused on making full songs. And I think maybe that comes from the fact that you guys were in a band before and you did full songs and you wrote following a regular song structure of verses, chorus, pre-chorus, all of that shit. But until quarantine, until maybe April, May of this month, it was just writing whatever you could get a big DJ to play out in the club. So
exactly.
Video. So you can
this has changed the scape of it totally, and it's really cool. Like I did an Insomniac mix that was like all just melodic, heavy melodic. Obviously, like everything we play is slightly heavy, but the kind of DJ set that I played for that, everyone was raving about the set and how it was like had emotions and make them feel a certain way. And like you wouldn't get that just playing banger, 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 like sat at your laptop. You're just gonna be like, oh, this is noisy, I want to turn it off. And that's the reality. Like you don't want to watch like even watching like Lost Lands 2 years ago, you watch it on your TV, and after a few hours you're like, I just want to be there. Like that's what I really want. I just want to be there and experience this. And it's not like content that's made for just sitting at home and enjoying. I just think that we've had the uprising of so much musical talent who otherwise probably would have gone under the radar. You know, I'm not even sure if they would have been given the time of day.
They wouldn't have been given the time of day. Absolutely not. I fully believe that people like, you know, and they would have made it, and I think they would have come to light, but it would have taken a hell of a lot longer than everyone having their eyes on Twitter for the clips and Instagram and YouTube for the virtual sets. And all of a sudden became, I mean, I hated doing the virtual sets, but it was a way to connect with people who had never seen me before. And it's really cool. And the way that you can interact in the chat and the way that you can put it on YouTube and do this kind of stuff and Twitch streaming that's opened up kind of the gateways for production and demo streams and feedback streams. And it's a different way to connect with your audience. And I wonder if it'll ever go away. My personal opinion is
I don't think so.
Out, I don't think it will.
No, I think this is now like the new norm, as people are saying. But as well as that, it's also made musicians focus on what's important. And like as much as live music and live touring is important, I think it's separate to music somewhat. Like it's separate to recordings and records. And I feel like there's now this uprising of people who are like, you know what, I make really good records, they get millions of plays every month, and I'm not getting the money for it, and I'm not getting, like, Spotify's taking most of the money or the labels taking most of the money. I don't even need either of those things. I can plug it to my own fan base and they'll still buy it. So I think there's also this shift from musicians, especially now we've all been left in the shit, you know, we've all just been left in the dirt to get on and do whatever the fuck we can with any money we can personally make for ourselves. All governments have said fuck you, and now we're just in a position where all these laws and all this infrastructure that was created around musicians earn from live music, full stop. It's now all having to change a bit, and we might see that musicians start unionizing and coming together and realizing that we need to take a stand to get the money we deserve. I think there's been a few people who have mentioned recently, it's like, up until now, I didn't mind the Spotify, the fact that they took most of my money, because it was just like, that's not most of my earnings. But now we realize that we're making all this art and we're making stuff that everybody is enjoying, and we're not getting the fucking money from it, you know?
The main source of income has been exiled. It's been said, okay, never mind, because it's always just been make the record to support the record by touring and make your income to go back into the studio and make another record.
But it's not fair. That's the thing that I've realized now is like, why do we have to tour in order to make money? We should, like, record labels can survive, like big old Universal with its 5-story building and its 600 employees. Yeah, they're doing just fine because they're still pumping music out and people are still buying it. And if anything, they're probably doing better now because people are probably sat at home buying stuff more.
Correct. And it's just like, I have the conversation all the time where you just hear about artists just getting raped up and down the wall, from pop artists to electronic musicians, even from the point where, you know, you have music outsourced to a publicist and it gets picked up by Dove or it gets picked up by some big corporation, and you're still making hardly anything compared to what their gross profit is. And it's all because, my personal opinion is because musicians and people who hold the passion of music and art aren't the ones running our industry. It's businessmen. And it's people where, especially in our industry, and I'm sure it happens elsewhere, rapper, you know, rock bands and such, people just sign their life away just to be able to share their art.
Yeah, I did the same thing. I've done it twice in my career. First in 2010, where I literally went from working in the Apple store for 6 months. I was working at Apple Store because I was trying to like earn enough money just to start up my own management company and do something. And I was working there and I heard like a few dubstep tunes, and I'm obviously making music all the time. And I just made one dubstep tune that suddenly now it's getting played on radio, and they're thinking, all right, this could get in the charts. This is on MTV now. Okay, right. One tune, that's all it took to have 5 record labels biting at each other to try and sign me. They would, oh, you want this? Okay, cool. Add it to the deal. Okay, you want this? Add it to the deal. To the point where it's like 6 figures on the table. You're like, okay, cool. I am now about to be a rich fucking musician. No questions asked. But it doesn't work that way. Yeah, and you're brought in, and then they take you to these amazing dinners. I came to LA to do my first show while I was still working at the Apple store. I came here. We sold out what is now the Fonda in LA. It used to be the Music Box.
Wow. What year was this? Sorry.
2011, I want to say. 2011, right. So we sold it out, and on the front row, you had Steve Berman. Okay, so Steve Berman is head of Interscope Records. He signed Lady Gaga, fucking Eminem, you know, like some of the biggest musicians on the planet. He's in the front row going, bah, 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 fucking dancing. After the show, come to my office. We go to his office. Oh, you like Dr. Dre headphones? Here's a bunch of Dr. Dre headphones. I'm going to make you the biggest artist on the planet. You know, all of this shit. And you're just like, it's all fucking bollocks. He said this to me, and he said this to 5 other people before me this week. It's like, but you believe it. I had no idea, other than what I've seen in movies, which is exactly how this played out. I'm like, okay, I'm going to be a superstar. But no, like 10 years later, I'm still paying back debts from both of those deals. You know how Kanye recently like posted all of his
that's what I was referring to. But yeah.
Right, there we go. Yeah, like being raped on he was that's how exactly how it's being described on the Joe Rogan thing. Yeah, like He's right. You sign these deals. My lawyer was friends with the record company, so he wanted them to get the best end of the deal. And they're running it behind your back. Yeah. Totally behind my back. I was told I'd never have to pay this shit back. It's happened to me twice. I'm still paying debts off, and for the next 10 years, we'll still be paying debts off because of people, like you say, who aren't musicians. They're businessmen. They walk around in their brand new suits and this, that, and the other. Oh, yeah, you should do this, you should do that. Give you all the opinions in the world, but they're just there to take your money. And that's, I think, like, Corona has exposed a lot of people are in this industry that don't need to be in this industry. And hopefully the good thing we can get out of it is when it restarts back up, is we're going to be more aware of everything that's been done to us. We're going to change how things move forward, and we're not going to allow just industry types to run it anymore. Like, it's been great to see a bunch of record labels start up by artists, and that's the way it should be.
Amazing. And they're climbing, and they're growing debatably faster than all of these very established labels are. And that's how it needs to be run. And I was Mosh Lizzy tweeted the other day, he's putting in stuff for his own record label where it's 50-50. And you know, whether that's just talk or not, it's just good to see, because there are good people. I think the general person is a good person, and they don't want to be a shitbag. But money manipulates a lot of shit. And I think there's enough good people who are industry professionals, who are managers, talent buyers, A&Rs, what have you, that can run this industry the way it's supposed to be ran. And it's not going to happen overnight. It's definitely not going to. But
well, it's a new industry. We're still working it out. That's the reality, is like we are still working out what the right way to do it is. And it's going to take more time. It's going to take more time to realize, because art is such a weird thing to try and sell anyone, especially music, something that in our day and age can just be easily copied and sent and pirated and this, that, and the other. We're learning how to put a value on it, you know?
Yes.
And I've also seen everyone jumping on this new Audius platform as well.
I have too. What do you think about that? I have my radio show on Audius. I've done it for the last 6 months to a year.
Okay.
I don't have my personal discography on Audius, but a lot of it sounds a little sus, but a lot of it sounds really cool. So it's hard for me to understand.
I feel like it's the future for sure. Like, it's a smart, because like I've been watching the similar kind of business model with cryptocurrency happening with other things, right? So I've got a friend who sells crypto art, and he's selling like basically a computer GIF for $20,000 to $50,000, you know, and people are buying them. Yeah. But that's kind of cool, because that's like, there's only one of these things, because it's crypto. So there's only one of them, and there's no way of duplicating it. And if we can get that across with music, I feel like that's what Audius is doing in a sense. They're making it so that nobody can be the middleman in between you and your publishing or your money or what you should have.
Which is
and it's also it's really good in that sense. But then there's also the sense of, if you're locked in that way, and you don't own the copyright, then how the hell do you like undo that?
Well, so I've seen people impersonating other artists on the platform, which is an issue. Which that is a huge molehill or mountain that needs to be, you know, conquered in order for people to not impersonate people like deadmau5. And because that's an issue. However, I think the layout that they have and the people behind them running it, because I remember when they launched X years ago, maybe a year to 2 years ago, it was like kind of a trend thing, and then it just fell off. It didn't stick. They had a bunch of big artists like Zed's Dead, Brownie's Lemonade, concept people supporting it, and then it just disappeared. And I think them coming around this time is at the perfect time where they have everyone's attention, as long as they roll it out well and troubleshoot the issues, to become a very promising platform.
Yeah, I agree. As soon as they can actually deal like with the customer service side of things and actually like get artists to be tied into their own accounts, then I'm all for it. I actually think giving musicians a real currency, which is effectively what it is. They're basically saying, if you make music, here's a currency for you, and it's as valuable as music is, which is cool. It's a good thing, but we'll see how it plays out. There's a lot of like crypto stuff that is being born, and then the next day is being shut down, and then so who knows where that will end up.
I genuinely do think, I had this conversation with a colleague of mine, that crypto will be the future, and at one point monetization and money will no longer have value.
I reckon it's going to be the next 10 years. Like China are already doing it. They're already decentralizing all their finance. So it's and Japan are also doing it. And as soon as Asia starts doing something, it's 10 years until everyone else does it. So
yes. And especially with our economy just in the trash right now, it just continually devalues the value of the dollar. And it's going to be very, very interesting. And I think our generation are very technologically savvy people. And I personally feel as if people from our generation should be the people running our country, because they're more forward thinking, they're more science-based and fact-based, and that's the way that you kind of look issues in the eye and deal with them and find a solution. However, I'm concerned for people who are a bit older, like our parents' age, and how they're going to make this jump and deal with it. I have people that we help that can't even use their phones. I don't even know how to do this on my phone. So it's like switching to a total different value of currency is very forward thinking.
Yeah, it's going to be very interesting because we've got the biggest divide. It's cool being the age that I am, because I was there, like when I grew up into the age of like 12, there was no internet. There was none. So it didn't exist. Yeah, exactly. So I was on like early adopter of the internet when I was like 10, and it was like dial-up internet where you have to no one can be on the landline at the same time, and you have to dial in, all that shit. Want to download a song? Okay, that's your night. Like you leave it on running all night. So I'm part of that generation where like we had both, and I've seen it. Like my parents had nothing, and now it's like even trying to train them to use an iPad is work. So
they either want to learn or they're like, fuck this, I'm not doing it. That's it.
And then on the same flip of the coin, I'm looking into crypto stuff, and I'm like, wow, this is complicated. And then I speak to kids and they know all about it, and then you're like, okay, so I'm already experiencing this gap, whether I like it or not. It's happening. But I'm all about it. I agree with you. I think people who are like over the age of 50 should not be allowed in politics, full stop. I think if you're not like general age populace, then why are you speaking on behalf of the population?
And you just never see there are politicians our age. I went to school at GW for my freshman year, and I interned on the Hill. There are kids there who are trying to make a difference, who are very forward thinking. They just don't get the time of day.
And they're not rich enough.
And they're not rich enough. And it's all lobbying, and it's all financial, and it's just unfortunate because they have great ideas. And that's what I feel like is brought into our industry right now, where you're seeing younger kids come up and their ideas are just so forward thinking, whether it's production wise or concept wise, or I'm going to design this VR to go along with my song. I'm going to do this. I'm going to create kind of a music video that resembles what Michael Jackson used to do and tell a story with my music, and stuff that you just haven't seen in a really long time.
Yeah. And it's becoming like overwhelming how disconnected a lot of the older generation are. Like we're saying, it's things like them not believing in climate change, and not like, I don't know, just things that like
California's on fire. You guys are on fire.
It's just visible. It's like every scientist in the world agrees on one thing. You're a politician. You got to go with that. You have to go with it, whether you believe on it or not. Like you have to. And that's what science is saying.
It's so sad because it just should be like ideally for the people, and you should be doing the things in the best interest of your people in your country, and that is just such a concept that is so far lost at this
Can you imagine if that was a job that you didn't get paid for? There was no money involved in it whatsoever. You had to do it, you got paid like whatever the wage is for that job, and that's it. And then you can't lobby, none of that stuff existed. And can you imagine how different all the decisions would be? They would just make the decision based on what people want and what they need based on
what this country is said to be ran on.
Right, exactly. Exactly. But that's where it all went wrong, right? That's got to be where it all went wrong.
And it's just like, even in both political parties, in each convention, they trigger it, they control who gets the nomination. I truly believe the only person that could have done it without diving deep into this is Bernie. And I think that people would have voted for him. People would have showed up, and people would have been very passionate about it. And I think he would have changed a lot of shit.
He would have changed things. And you know what? Even if he changed them like totally polarized to the other side, it's great. Like, it's good to experience both things, learn lessons from both sides of the coin. It's just... the problem in America, which is very different from back in the UK, is like, I mean, it's similar, but like we have an option to vote. And I feel like the difference between those votes is much more significant than over here. I think that both the parties that you vote for over here are give or take the same party, doing give or take the same things with minor like cosmetic differences. And that's the issue. Like, you don't have a choice. You either vote for the guy you hate or a guy you also hate. Like, there isn't really anyone who represents the voice of most people. There's no one who's representing a centrist it's basically in this country, it's like you're really far right or you're a bit further left, but you're still not even centrist or left compared to everyone else's standards.
Yeah, that would be correct. And it's just going to be very interesting to see what happens after the election actually is decided, to see. Really, I feel like everybody's just kind of in a waiting room, on a waiting pedestal, because we really aren't going to know how our country is going to proceed forward, especially in our industry, until there is a new candidate and until until the election's over. And I really, really, really hope that this is put behind us to a certain extent, and people with pre-existing health conditions take precautions and they do the right things, but people are given the opportunity to live and move forward.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
But they are speaking now about vaccines, and there could be one before the end of the year and stuff like that. But even if that happens, I don't think people in this country are going to take it. That's another thing I've learned from being here, is like most people won't take a vaccine. No. They just won't take it. So, but then I guess that's on you. You know what I mean? Yeah. That's kind of on you. At that point, it's like, all right, if you don't believe it and you don't want to take it, that's kind of on you. So everyone's going to have to be careful, even if a vaccine appears, because I don't think enough people are going to take it.
And it just makes me so mad, because it's like, after all of this, the CDC is changing what they feel was necessary and the precautions that were necessary to take, and if a mask even helps, or if this was really deemed this dangerous, but it was really only affecting this age bracket. And people in Florida said, fuck it. We have sports games going on with 40,000 people right now. But yet, if you throw a club show, socially distanced, you're canceled. You're canceled.
I decided about 3 months ago that regardless of what anyone thinks on the internet, I'm just going to do what I think is right and safe. And also regardless of what I think is right and safe for COVID, what I think is right and safe for our industry is also, like, what upsets me is seeing people who are in our industry hating on something that, like, it's your industry. Like, how can you?
Thank you. Literally, like, I see all of these people from the consumer side and industry side as well. I've seen everything from, and I am sure you've seen it as well, all of these kids who are so embedded in the rave scene and the electronic scene, and whether they've been here for 2 years or 10 years, I'm like, do you want an industry to come back to? Because we're at the point where we're never going to get another festival. Like, this is it.
Yep.
And it's just so hard. And I understand social media is just tearing everybody apart, and people just really have nothing better to do than do this. And I feel like there should have been like an official document put out at the beginning of this, where it was like, hey, this is your opportunity to take a class online, to go get a new hobby, to learn something that you never thought you would have the time to learn about. Because in turn of people not taking those opportunities, it's just become a negative, bad energy place known as Twitter and other social media platforms, where I think people are just mad at the world, and they're and
projecting.
And they're just projecting. And then you've seen artists who are like wanting to cancel other artists for playing socially distant shows or pod shows, but then they're like, oh, well, my agents and management had a great conversation, and we think it's the right thing to do to move forward and play shows. And it's just because they hadn't gotten the opportunity beforehand. And this is the way that our industry is going to progress and be in this kind of weird ass phase for a long time. And I really, truly do think if you're not a huge artist, and you're an up and coming artist, and you don't take advantage of these moments and do things based on your own morals and making sure things are right, you're going to get left behind.
Yeah, I agree. It's cool to see that a lot of that hate and that, like, initial craziness has calmed down a lot. Yeah, I don't think there are many people being called out for shows now, because they know what situation we're all in. Like, okay, I'm here in America, right? I can't get unemployment. I can't get help from government. I can't get anything like that. I'm just here on my own. The only way I make money in America is by playing music. That's what my visa is for. I can't go and drive an Uber. I can't go down to the grocery store and get a job. Like, this is how I earn my money. So I might take a risk or two to do so. I might do that. But you know what? I'm never going to do anything illegal. I'm going to do what is the governments are saying I'm allowed to do. And
correct.
That's happening in music, but that's happening in every other sector, right? So if you're going to shout at me, go and shout at the fact that people are having dinner in a restaurant down the road. Go and shout at the owner of the cinema, the owner of the gym, the owner of everything. People have to get on with their lives. Unfortunately, this is a reality. And if our industry suffers another 6 months like this, we will not have an industry to come back to.
We will not have an industry.
And I'm telling you this from top down, from like big agencies who are losing $250 million every single month that they stay closed, to up-and-coming artists who this year, we're just talking about Papa Khan. If Papa Khan came out same time the year before and had the same success, that guy would be on his American tour bus right now.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he's not going to see any benefits of that until next year, until shows can start happening. But,
and absolutely, I absolutely agree with you. And I think us using our platforms are the right thing to do to express these things. And I just wish the people in our community would understand that even if we shut down, even if we said no drive-in raves, no pod events, no events at all, we're done until there's a vaccine, the world would still go on. And
right,
the world
exactly.
Would still open.
Here's another thing, Lizzy.
Would not be saved. Like
I've had to go and do shows, right? And I sit on a plane that's full of 400 people shoulder to shoulder. And I'll tell you this, 1 in 10 people aren't wearing their masks either. And it's not being enforced. You want to have a go at us for trying to squeeze 400 people in a room shoulder to shoulder, but it happens 600 times a day from Los Angeles airport.
The airlines that got multi-billion
bailouts.
dollar payouts to an industry that we couldn't even get our fucking bill passed because our president said, "Oh, we're gonna wait. Oh, never mind." And,
man.
And it's just like, I'm so glad we're having this conversation because I'm an up and coming artist and you all are very established, and I feel like people need to hear this, and the more that people hear this, they conceptually get it. Like they get it, and sometimes they just need it laid out to them that's not on a Twitter war, because once you're in the Twitter war and once you're in the argument and you're texting and you're doing whatever, it's very hard to take a step back and say, hey, like this is what's going on. And I feel so fucking bad for Ghastly and Blunts and Blondes and people who are just trying to make a living because they're touring artists, because we don't make money off of our music. And you go to Florida and I walk down the strip of bars and venues where I have my residency, and my venue is the only one running under capacity with masks enforced.
Right. Exactly.
I'm looked at like I'm a fucking freak if I walk into a bar with a mask.
Right. So I did a show in what is this place called?
You were in Orlando, right?
No, I did that one. I did that drive-in. Yeah. I did that one. So this was like so it's in Dolly Parton world where she lives, right? Tennessee, in Pigeon Forge.
Pigeon Forge,
right.
Yeah.
So we did this show in Pigeon Forge. I received a lot of hate for it, okay? There was 70 people in a 1,000 capacity venue. There was enough room for every person there to do a backflip wherever they wanted to stand, right? There was plenty of room.
God.
Meanwhile, when I left the venue, I am in a city that there is 30,000 people on holiday, up and down, going on rides, going on roller coasters. The hotel I stayed in, both me and Bandles wearing masks in the lift. We get in the elevator, and the guy goes, Karen. This guy is with his whole family. They're all naked. They've just got out the pool. No mask. They don't give a fuck. So it's like, you can tell me, how dare you go to Pigeon Forge and do this show? Meanwhile, do you think Pigeon Forge gives a fuck? They're still doing what Pigeon Forge does every day. By telling me, how dare you go there and play to 70 people, it's still going to happen. It doesn't matter whether I do it or not. And if I don't take that show, someone else will take that show. Absolutely. Because that's where we're at right now.
And the artists talking shit on this, it's because they're not getting the offers. Because if they were getting the offers, I fucking guarantee you they'd be taking them.
They never needed the shows to begin with. And that's another group of people who I've realized they're a very privileged, wealthy bunch of people who have probably ghost written for a bunch. Exactly. Ghost produced for a bunch of big guys and are now massaged into the industry. And they'll happily turn around and go, well, you should have saved better. or you should have done this better, or you should. Nah, fuck you, man. How about you back the artist, because this is an art form, and if we're not all in this together, you may as well bend over and be fucking Kanye'd 1,000,000 times over.
No, literally, absolutely. And those people, I don't even think. I mean, yes, I get the people who are massaged, because I know those people who have ghosted, but some of those people, they're not artists. They've used their money and their mommy and daddy's money and their trust fund children, and they bought their way into this industry because you can do that. And they have no idea what it means to work hard, and they have no idea what it means to actually have a passion and do whatever you're willing to do and sacrifice to be successful and live that passion. And I'm fucking done with it. Those people don't deserve a spot here, ever.
No.
And
no,
it sucks for them to have these platforms where they have people get behind them, and then all of a sudden they've just got this army with them who's like willing to attack anybody who's playing a show, or willing to attack this and that. And I'm just like, take a second, go out of your little bubble, because at the end of the day, we aren't living in a third world country. Shit could be a hell of a lot worse than it is right now. And think about how people are living in their personalized lives, and how some of them literally don't have money to pay rent, and they're not making that money off of Twitch streaming 5 days a week. I can tell you that.
No, I know that for certain. That was another thing. I tried to Twitch stream for money for a while, and I actually felt guilty. After like the first 6 months, I was like, I feel guilty just being on here and like people donating money to get feedback. I feel guilty about doing it. Like 6 months in, I was like, you know what? I'm just going to work privately. I've got like, I'm currently, in order to earn money, I'm making samples for like every company behind the scenes, right?
You guys just had a big Splice pack, correct?
That's right. We've had 2 now, yeah. So we had one with Virtual Riot, which was the spicy rhythm drums, and
within like a month.
Yeah. Well, that was ready to go. So that was like, that's been finished for a year and a bit. Like, we've been waiting for Splice to give us the okay on it, and they gave us the okay that could, like, everything got shut down. So that was great. Yeah. That was the first one. So it's done really, really well. And now I just dropped, this week it's last week I dropped it, and now it's number 2 in the charts on Splice, Modestep Bass Evolution, which is just like crazy amount of samples, 1,200 samples of fire. So I've been doing a lot of that, a lot of like mindless making loops and stuff like that.
And you guys had a lot of live drum samples in that as well, right? This was like your life work of samples, correct?
Yeah, it was 10 years of like, there's stuff from all of our tunes in there. It's really, there's a lot in there, a whole lot. And it's got my voice as well, like singing every single little phrase and little ad-libs and stuff. So I noticed there wasn't that much good singing stuff. Bunch of that stuff's in there.
Fucking dope. Did you sing in your new single, Lost Your Way?
Yeah.
Dude, I have to say, like, I'm not like fangirling, but like that shit, dude, I listened to that and I was just like, this is the best track I've heard all year. Like, I'm not even kidding you. Like, there's very few times where I listen to things, and I think it's so important to, like, it makes you stand out a lot in electronic music when you use your own voice, or you use a vocalist, or you use stuff, because so many people don't. They just use samples from Splice, pre-drop, or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that you all kind of took your own original style and the style you've always had and intertwined it with the future melodic rhythm shit coming out, it's phenomenal. It was
so easy. This is the thing, like, so much easier for now that melodic stuff came back. I mean, it's what we always did. It's what we did, like, back in the start. So for me, it's like I spent the last 5 years learning how to use Serum and make rhythm sounds like that. That's realistically why I had to catch up and be like, fuck, okay, we don't know how to do any of that stuff. I know how to write a good song. I know how to write like uplifting vibe stuff, but I don't know how to fucking make growls that sound like Satan. Like, that's not what I spent all my time doing. Like, the first electronic tune I ever made was Sunlight. So it wasn't like, before then I was just making rock music and recording rock bands, making pop, making R&B, stuff like that. First electronic tune.
Going into that really quick, I know we didn't say we were going to touch too much on the past interviewee questions, but explain that, because one day I pressed shuffle on your all discography and I was like, I'm listening to a punk band right now. I'm listening to an alternative rock band.
Yeah.
What made the jump? When did you guys decide to do this?
Well, it's always like Modestep was... I heard dubstep. I heard like Rusko and Casper's Fabric Live thing, and I was like, fuck, okay, this is something else. Went to go and see a bunch of shows, and I was like, all right, I'm sold. So how the fuck do you make this? Like, how the fuck do you even go about, like, what is this? But to me, it didn't seem like EDM. It wasn't electronic music, because in the UK, I was always into garage music, into grime music, and you don't see that as an electronic genre. You just see that as like a culture. It's like urban music. That's how it's described in the UK, as urban music. So that's our answer to hip hop, basically, in the UK, before UK hip hop became a thing, which it has in the last like 5 years. But before then, we had our own genres, our own music. So always been in bands, always like recorded other people, was in like 3 or 4 different rock bands myself. But then when we like decided to do make a dubstep tune, it was literally the first one I made. I was like, well, fuck it, let's do it like a song. Like, let's do this how we always do it. Let's do it with instruments. And that was it. Honestly, the rest is history. From then on, we've always tried to make our albums really eclectic. So what you're saying, like, you will skip through our stuff and it's like you get a punk song, you get whatever you get. But a lot of it is influenced with electronic stuff in there, and like punchy, and gives you the electronic feeling. That was always the vibe, is trying to like either take the stuff that we like from rock music or the stuff we like from electronic music and try and blend them together in some way.
Yeah, no, it's so dope, because I would hear that, because then I was like, okay, well, I got to start from the beginning now, because I love doing that with artists. So I kind of heard it go from a strictly rock band, because I did engineering for post-hardcore bands, played bass in a metalcore band, and sang for a very long time before I made this jump to this genre. And you hear that, and then I started to hear you all start to implement the synths in there, and the different forms of electronic music, and then you made the hop to electronic music. But you guys still have a lot of metal influences, whether it's your voice or the drums or the certain basses that you design. You definitely took a lot from that genre and built it into the Modestep name.
Yeah, we never even I guess now, like, since we moved to Disciple, I'd say it's probably more electronic music. And like, since we become a duo, it's more, I guess we are an electronic act. But it took me from 2010 to now to be able to gain those skills as an electronic producer. Like, forget everything I knew before about like drum tone or chord progressions or lyrics or any of that stuff. All of that went out the window. It's like, cool, how do I sound design? And it took me up until like, I'd say 2 years ago, when we released Higher, I think it was on Monstercat, and then started doing the Disciple stuff, that I was like, you know what, I'm actually comfortable now to call myself an electronic music producer and go out and DJ. Like, I never DJ'd until 2 years ago, and now I'm like a comfortable DJ. So
But you guys are still one of the only acts that will do full legit live shows. And that's super dope that Disciple is like about that. Because I know a lot of electronic labels don't really like shine their light or have like an approval on that, because it's a lot more, you've got to have a stagehand or a stage tech or an audio engineer in the back of front of house. But it's super dope. So you've only been working with Disciple for 2 years?
It's only been 2 years.
Longer.
Oh
my God.
Well, actually, it might be a bit longer now. So I've been in about 2.5 years. Yeah, about 2.5 years. We moved here like just over 2 years ago. So Okay. And I think it's cool as well, because as we were discussing before, like, Disciple is a label run by artists. You've got Myro, Astronaut, and Dodge and Fusky, who run the labels. They're artists themselves. Everyone who operates in the label is also an artist. The head of A&R is Vishal from Bandles. Everybody is an artist in their own right, and everybody is trying to do things just to help each other out. And like, Disciple doesn't make money. Disciple makes enough money to continue being Disciple, which is how labels should be, man. It should just be a gathering of artists and giving each other.
Like a collective.
Exactly. It is a collective. It absolutely is a collective. And like, we owe a lot of this. Like, my manager is an artist. I decided at one point in my career that I was sick of these type of people that you're talking about, and I just refused to work with them. And even when Rossi was like trying to sign us to be our manager, I was like, another manager, like 4th, 5th one, like, nah, you know what, I'm all right. Like, but he managed to, he got us over here and convinced me pretty quickly.
He seems great. He's wonderful.
The best. He really is. Just a genuinely nice human being, and just like, he was a fan. So like, Pat was in a rock band called Funeral for a Friend, which is like a well-known emo band. And Rossi was like a huge fan of that band. So even just for him to have like the to be managing someone who played in one of his favorite bands, and like, Pat's taught Rossi how to play drums. Like, this is all
that's dope.
This is all just artists just helping each other.
And that's so beautiful. And that's okay. So that's the one thing that when I came into this industry that I'm seeing now, because in quarantine, because people are making money off of it, having a Patreon or having the feedback sessions where people donate or sub or whatever.
Yeah.
Like nobody wanted to share their secrets. Whereas like in rock music and metal music, you're like, yo, like, let me sit down and show you this riff. Let's work on this chord progression together.
Yeah.
Oh, like you can play drums for this and I'll walk you through how to do this. And everybody wants to share knowledge and share information and build everyone up together. And then when you came here, I couldn't even be like taught how to fucking sidechain. People are like, oh, you're stealing my shit. You're stealing my shit.
That's like, what it was like in the early days, and now it really seems to have flipped on its head. And that information is like, if you just jump on Discord for one day and you try and get like 1 million presets, guaranteed you could probably make that happen. Like Absolutely. There are so many people. Like even me, like as a producer, I'm in my 30s and I'm still trying to find out new things that kids are doing. I can jump on Discord and be like, hey guys, how do you do it? And they'll be like, yeah, sure, I'll show you how I did that. Like, and that's great. Amazing.
It's amazing.
Never had that back in the day. Never had it. We didn't even have YouTube tutorials. The only way I would learn back in the day was crawling through like old drum and bass forums, trying to find interviews with like Noisia on how they process stuff, and then trying to make sense of their like slightly broken English breakdown of exactly what they've done on a signal flow. But like, it doesn't make sense until someone shows you it, at least me anyway.
I'm a super visual learner too. So like, I get that. And now you can just put it into Google and you'll get 20 different visuals that just break it down to you in 60 seconds. And that's why it's like, I get that this is hard. Producing isn't easy. It comes with time, especially training your ear. But at the same time, you're the only one stopping yourself at this point. Like you saying there's an excuse that you can't learn how. There's so many people taking lessons. There's so much free knowledge between Reddit and Discord and YouTube and different collectives and societies that have started up like Defier Society, where they've got people like Bad Clat and Odd Profit doing feedback sessions. And it's $30 a month. It's $35 a month. You know, it's cheap money, and that's just kind of like your investment within yourself. But I've had also people say that, you know, it's kind of scary because now everybody can learn how to do it, but I still think you have to be innovative, because people who die,
anyone can go and learn a guitar. Anyone can go and pay for a lesson to go and learn guitar. Yo, just putting this out there, I paid for a one-on-one session with Odd Profit.
I did too.
There we go. That's what I'm saying. There's no shame in it. There's no fucking shame in it.
It's great. Like if you ever think you're too good to learn, you need to like get up your high horse, because there's always new techniques and you know, new VSTs. When Phase Plant came out, I was like, fuck, I don't know how to fuck with this shit. And then I got a lesson with Odd Profit and I was like, teach me how to do this, please. And there's nothing wrong with it. And you're supporting other artists. You're
exactly.
Giving, you know?
He's happy to take your money, happy to take your fucking money, especially right now.
Yeah.
And that, you know, I found that as well. Like in the UK, people are a lot more precious about their secrets. So like we would Never Say Die before we were with Disciple, had like a few releases on Never Say Die. And I got to work with like Zomboy and a few people like that. And they were very, very like, they didn't want you looking over their shoulder and knowing what they were doing. And then I moved over here and I'm like next door neighbors with Virtual Riot, and I can be like, hey Val, how do you like do everything? And he'll bring out a whiteboard and fucking write it exactly how it's supposed to be done. And that was just such a refreshing new feeling to me, because I never had that before. I never had someone who had like enough faith in me as an artist to be able to go, you know what? I'm just going to put you in a room with another artist, and I know, because I trust you, that you're going to get what you need from this. And I did. Within like 3 sessions working with Virtual Riot, I wrote Echo's EP, and then it's like, boom, there you go. Like it's all it takes is for one person to inspire you and teach you a new way of looking at things, for you to express yourself in a whole new way.
Absolutely. Like literally that's it. And it's like certain things, whether it's achievements or shows, when shows happen, it's like I would get a show, or I'd get like my first big label signing to Cannonball, and I was like, fuck dude, like this is great. And it gives you that motivation. And especially going to someone who's making music within the same subgenre as you, that has a totally different approach, and it just like opens your eyes. And you have to be receptive to it. You have to not have a bullhead, but most artists are pretty, you know, if they're willing to learn, they're willing to see new techniques and stuff. Like I had a breakthrough lesson with Bad Clap the other day with processing and using span and finally seeing my levels and being like, oh fuck. But sometimes I'll get stems back from a collab and everyone's got every track frozen, everything flattened down, and I can't see shit. And I'm just like, damn, okay, like that's fine. It's okay that you don't trust me, but it's all right. It's all right. I get it.
It's also cool that you've got this generation of kids coming through who like technically can't produce in like a technical sense, but the music they're fucking making is mind blowing. It's mind melting.
He's the perfect example of that, because everything, like I've seen the way that he mixes down, and I had him on XO radio like when he was just 14, and I remember having to talk to his mom to get the mix from him, and I was just dying, but it was great. And it's just like, he's like, yeah, like I just like make stuff that sounds cool, and like that's all it is. That
all it is. Yeah.
And while there is a technical understanding to be able to be knowledgeable, to communicate with other industry professionals is dope, at the end of the day, it either sounds good or it sounds like shit, and nobody cares how you got there. Nobody cares.
And sometimes I've had like one-on-ones where I've done a collab with someone and I've been like, how do you make this thing that is like your sound? How do you do that? And then they show me and I'm just like, oh, that wasn't anything. That was just like, you just did nothing there. And that's what that is. They're like, yeah. And you're like, oh, you're not even like, you're not what I thought you were a scientist saying you were like cooking this up. No, it was just a happy mistake, you know? And then that carries with them forever.
Happy mistakes are great.
It's the best. Anyone who thinks that there's no more to be learned in music and production, it's like, man, anytime I get an opportunity to learn anything from anyone, I'm all ears. Even like when I was doing feedback streams, if I heard a sound in a feedback stream and I'm like, how the fuck was that made? I will hit up that person and try and find out how the hell they did that. Even if they're like got 200 followers. I found myself going on to like the Discord of a kid who was like a 14-year-old producer, and like his own personal Discord, finding it, going in there under Modestep and being like, hey guys, and everyone be like, why the fuck is Modestep in this like Discord for me and my friends?
Yeah,
definitely did. And I still speak to him and like still send each other tunes, and they're still making fire. This is the thing. And I'm still learning and also teaching. Like I can give something for everything I learn, you know?
I feel like that's the future. And I feel like for the first time ever, I looked at the industry for so long, especially when I was new to it, when I finally understood. When I was 18, I thought festivals just popped up. I thought they were brought in a box. The box was
like the circus.
Yeah, like the circus. And then the festival was just there. And learning more once I got intertwined with it about the back end. It's so interesting and so intriguing to learn about everybody's past and the way that they have kind of come to light within the scene. And when I was first looking at it, I was like, a lot of these people who you get middle tier billing, I feel like they don't make the music to like replace people like you all and the Dons once you guys decide, hey, we're gonna be off the touring circuit. We've reached a certain age, we're not gonna do it anymore. And now after quarantine, I feel like we're finally hearing music where I'm like,
definitely.
That's a fucking hit. Like that kid could take Zed's place when they're done. That kid could take Marshmallow's place when they're done. And it's so cool. It's
awesome.
Cool. Yeah.
It's cool. Also, there's been a bunch of them that like I personally found, or like I was the one to give them the exposure, which I was like,
Insomniac stream. You've been playing a bunch of like
everyone's.
I don't know how to pronounce his name. He was on XO Radio, but he had Never Say Die EP on Black Label. Jaquie Jordan.
Oh, Jaquie. Yeah. Oh, what a legend. What a legend.
When you started supporting him, he was freaking out. And like, I've seen you do that to so many new kids who really just deserve it because they've worked their ass off to this point. But it only takes someone like you to give them the time of day once to take your whole demographic and following and push them on to this new person.
I love it. I absolutely love it. There's nothing I like more than somebody giving me new and exciting music to listen to and fire for my DJ sets. Are you kidding me? I want to have the best DJ set out of everyone. Every time I go up to perform, it's like I want people to walk away and go, holy fuck, I need to see that again. Like, what the fuck was that? That's music I never heard, but I knew it, but like it felt familiar, but it didn't, but like I liked it. That's what I want from a DJ set. And then just to be like, nothing can replace that feeling. I have to go and see that again. And like being able to rep these kids who are making these tunes that are making me feel this way, I want to push that on, you know, and then blend my music in, my stuff as well. And just, like the more choice you have as a DJ, obviously the better. So anyone who's listening to this, if you think you're big, small, medium, whatever size, just hit me up. My DMs, they're always open. Send me tunes. Always, always.
Yes. Oh no, it's so great. And it's like what you were talking about with the smaller labels like Audio and Helicon and Rushdown Chimes label. It's like all of these kids who are just making such bright, interesting music. And it's just it's great.
Yeah. The whole new generation is pushing forward no matter what happens. You've seen like Never Say Die get a bit smaller. It's interesting since I heard that Tommy Schism is like not really doing too much with Never Say Die anymore. Like he stepped down.
Yeah.
And it's interesting since the artist, the guy who, in my opinion, made the label happen because he was an artist and he was making good music, DJing. He's like in his own right an amazing artist. As soon as he steps down, the label doesn't have that feeling anymore. It does. You can tell it's not being headed by a musician anymore. And that's why that's where the future is. And that's why, I have to give all props to Ulasol because all the music coming out on that label is amazing.
Fire.
And I also was going to do this at the start of the year. I was going to start up a label and I just thought, I looked into it. I had so many people ready to sign and I just thought, you know what? I don't have time for this. And I think it's also a move on my part that's honest. Like I want to do it.
I was about to say, that's good that you're being honest with yourself.
Yeah, because the last thing I want to do is start something and then 6 months down the line, let down every artist that like put all their time in me and faith in me. But I will do it at some point when I have the time and like we're not in these crazy times, not having to get 6 jobs.
So you just don't know what the future is. You have no idea what the future holds. Like you literally cannot plan for 6 months ahead from now. You have no idea what's going to happen.
No. Like, this is the thing as well. Like moving to Austin, my luck, watch what will happen. I'll move to Austin and then LA will open and everything will start again. Like, but the beauty is I can do that. Like there's nothing to stop me just going to Austin 6 months, then coming. That's one great thing about America and the United States is like everyone has different opinions and different tolerances to things, and you can kind of just go wherever that feeling is. And I guess that's why a lot of people who are here and came to California on this promise of liberalism and this promise of like people being good to each other and working as a community, but kind of a false promise. I don't think it was real.
That did not age well.
No, exactly. I think they have now really Corona has just exposed a city that isn't claiming to be one thing, but it's probably like one of the most conservative cities out there. I mean, conserving is literally what they're doing right now. They're doing a conserving, and they're supposed to be the most liberal, left-voting city on the planet.
They're supposed to be the most liberal of the liberal. And on the other side of the country, the people sitting exactly in your situation pretty much are the people in New York. And it's sad because there's such hubs for art and performance and the entertainment industry and food and culinary arts, just arts all over the board. And both cities are going to have a good time of rehabilitation that's going to be needed in order to. LA needs to get the fucking homeless problem under wraps. Every time I go on Facebook or Twitter, and I don't even live there. I live in Florida, So it's like for me to see videos of what's going on out there is just like, crazy.
Conservatism is exactly what it is. It's being a conservative. It's not being liberal in any sense. It's being as Republican as you can be, allowing people just to fucking die in the streets and locking people away in their homes and saying, well, fuck you. I have no idea when you're going to be able to get out. That's conservatism it's the epitome. And then on the other side, you've got Texas, who's supposed to be conservative, giving the most freedoms. It's bizarre. So it's honestly,
Florida said, fend for yourself. I don't fucking care. Make your money.
What does Florida vote? Like, what is it? A left or right voting?
We are always a swing state where Texas is red. So like Donald Trump has been here every weekend for the last every other weekend for the last 2 months. Same with Biden. Florida, I believe Michigan, and we've got one other state that's gonna be a swing state, and that's going to deter the election. I really do believe Florida.
I think Florida is going to be red this year. I think Florida is red this year. I mean, if you look at like the fact that it's opened. Yeah, I mean, it's open. They're all happy again. And then Biden's going to come in and say, I'm going to relock you down. And Trump's going to be like, fuck it, open it up. Obviously, they're going to go for that guy. It's the only thing that really affects them.
I also don't want to start living in a communist country, though. Like, I don't we're based on the willpower of our Constitution and our amendment rights and our right to vote. And I just hope that there are enough strong-holded people in office that will honor the right of democracy when it comes down to it. But I don't know at this point. I don't know.
Is democracy even fair in this country? That's a whole nother debate.
No, that's
Who
a
knows?
whole nother debate.
Who knows? I mean, it's collegiate, so like officially not, right? The collegiate system or whatever it's called. That's not fair. So I don't know. I don't know how like the ins and outs of it. I just know I don't want to hear about it too much.
No,
too much more.
And you can't
after
put
next
on
year.
the media. You can't watch Fox. You can't watch CBS. You can't watch NBC because it's all. They shouldn't even be. Fox said the other day because they were getting fact checked because they're really news, but they're claiming themselves as entertainment because
it's
now
propaganda,
everybody just says it's propaganda and everyone's just saying their opinion and their side of the story, and that's what it is. And if they're not going to show you shit that you don't want to see, just like the other news station won't show you shit they're going to see. They're all.
This is a problem with Twitter as well. Now Twitter is becoming like an echo chamber for its own thoughts as well, and now you're getting like extremes on either side. I just want someone who just deals in truths. That's really what I want. Yeah.
Like you would think that's not a hard concept, but it's just it seems like it's impossible over the last 6 months.
Too much money involved in it.
Because you've got the story, and then you've got his side of the story, and you've got her side of the story, and it's just so much money driven. And the people who sit at the top of this country sit at the top of the country with a gap the size of the Rocky Mountains in between them and everybody else.
I really feel like if there was a third option and that third option, it wasn't left or right and it was down the center, they've won by a landslide this year. And it's just a shame there isn't no representation.
And it's sad because this is how fucked it is that again, this could be something that I'm seeing that's not true. But from my understanding, politicians who have taken the third party position, there were quite a few of them, and they were getting banned on Facebook and blocked on Twitter because they were trying to bring people together.
Yeah, that's weird.
The country doesn't want that, and it's
that was strange. That was very strange. I mean, it's clear that like Twitter is as far left politically as it can be. You know, they block things left, right, and center. But you're right. Like the fact that they were blocking things from third party was very sus, very strange.
Super sus. Yeah.
Who knows how this is going to go? I'm like, on this week's edition of Fucked Up America.
Literally, like, you just don't know. Like what I said, like, we're just kind of in a waiting room right now, and I think everybody, if they're able to vote in the country, they just should. They should, you know, and I get it. Both candidates fucking suck. They suck. And
third party. If you don't want to vote and you don't want your vote to go to waste, vote third party, because those votes do not go to waste at all. Find someone who you like the policy of and just vote for them. Because even if you're not voting for one or the other, people say, oh, that's a wasted vote. But if those percentages go up, those people have more power. So vote for them. Fucking vote for those guys. If you don't want to vote for a giant douche or a turd sandwich, I think South Park put them as.
Absolutely. Oh my God, dude. Did you watch the South Park special?
Yeah, the pandemic special was.
Oh my goodness, I was
classic
dying.
South Park. They killed it as always.
I remember I was just on the couch. I was on the couch with my dog, and I was just watching it, and I was like, "This shit right now is just." I was away.
Drop mic moments at the end, as always.
Oh my goodness, it legendary. The show's legendary in itself. But what a concept. I'm just gonna come and do a pandemic special, no season, no anything, and then I'm gonna be out. Wild.
Yep, and say everything they needed to say in that one episode.
In 1 hour, they summed up all of 2020. Are you guys doing any? You guys have done quite a few Insomniac streams. Are you guys doing any streams coming up?
Any streams? I don't think we've got any planned, you know. It's funny how like at the start of all of this, those were really getting crazy numbers and really like were popular.
They've dropped.
Yeah, it's all become a little bit like of an afterthought. I'm still doing them, and if they come up, I'll definitely still do them. Like, it's been cool for me to actually work with Insomniac because I've only done a few things for them up until this point, and I guess that's a silver lining of all of this, being in LA and being one of the few artists still here able to do stuff. It's been cool to actually get in with them and do a bunch of those sets, and they've really paid dividends, like for gaining an audience in the States.
Absolutely, and I would like to think too, you guys fit nothing more than to be on their base stages as well.
Right. That's what I think. Yeah, that's what I think. Because they have like a lot of historic acts who are still current and doing things. And I think we've proved ourselves in most markets at this point that like people are willing to listen and they'll show up. So
yeah.
So
you would think it's like,
we'll see. But there are a lot of young kids who also need to take the limelight off us old fuckers. So I'm also happy whoever they want to book. I'm sure they do a great job. Book us.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I just want people to be on lineups who are musicians who just deserve to be there. And I know that's asking too much because that's never the way it goes.
Yeah.
But it gives.
It's becoming more and more that way.
Yes, I absolutely agree. And I think there's new promoters and talent buyers who are coming into the scene a little bit before this that will be around after that are really interested. People like Grimefest in Texas. They're just booking people who make great music and the people, and like the biggest issue we've kind of run into is people not knowing you exist, because once they know you exist, they fucking love you. And it's like getting promoters and talent buyers to take that risk of believing in you as a project, which is hard when you don't have the statistical numbers, because then once you're in that moment, they're like, yeah, this was the right decision. And then it's
even numbers don't even play a huge part in it anymore. It's a weird one. I feel like promoters go on like a hype, like on a what. Yeah, like,
and a lot of the agencies, I get the agencies that dominate. I totally get that, especially being with Leo. Like we dealt with that a lot. I know you guys have too. And it's just finding the right time and place. But do you have any more music for us this year?
Any more music for you this year?
Are we hanging out until 2021?
There's a drum and bass tune, but I don't think it might drop this year. But it won't. Ooh. It's not dubstep. It's not on Disciple.
Okay.
But we'll see. Like that's as far as music's. I've got like a few things finished, but I know they want me to finish up an EP, but it will happen when it fucking happens. I don't even know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, that new song, it got an upload to UKF, right? I think I got a little notification. That's fucking dope. But yeah, I thank you so much for coming on today.
Anytime.
I think our conversation was great. Thank you for inspiring the people who are going to listen and just like telling the truth. No
worries.
coding, no filters. I feel like
no bullshit from me. You know what I'm like, no bullshit. And like the thing is, like, anyone who disagrees with anything I say, instead of just being like, fuck that guy, come talk to me. Every day I have, like, if you come to me with a rational response on Twitter, I will always reply. Absolutely. If you're not rude and you come with like a genuine, like, let's have a discussion, I reply to everyone all the time.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah, but like most of the time, people will apologize to me at the end of the damn conversation.
People
that's
rational. Fact. And I just feel like people think everyone's mean and everyone's out to get them and all.
Everyone's nice on their own individual basis. Absolutely. They've got reasons for not being nice, and you need to speak to them about those problems.
There's more good people in this world than not good people, and it's just being able to communicate, which a lot of us don't know how to do anymore because of social media, in a way to get past the bullshit and actually have a real conversation. Because you damn well know they wouldn't say that to your face if they were
trust me, I know it. Yeah, like, trust me, I know it. A lot of people say things on the internet and then their tail is tucked between their legs in real life. That is fact.
Yeah, absolutely. But thank you so much for coming on the xKore podcast. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank
you.
I really
hope you either make the move or LA decides to make a decision sometime soon. Hopefully, the internet will still work after the election.
Oh, don't. That's scary.
I know, right?
It's all right. I'll go back to the UK if that happens. Trust me. I need the internet.
Yeah, right. But thank you so much. I greatly appreciate it.
No worries.
Yeah.
Thank you.